As you know, we are talking about curriculum design and instructional materials. We'll continue discussing the role of instructional materials, their design and their use. Right. You know, as previously discussed in the previous module, that instructional materials, whether in the form of published or authentic materials, they form a basic component of language curriculum design, and they serve as an input for language teaching in the classroom. They provide supplementary support to the teachers and provide contact to the learners to get in touch with the language, right? So the role, design and use of authentic materials, their main role is just to serve as an input for the learners. Apart from this, they provide ideas to the teachers how to plan the lessons and what to select and what not to select, right? And how to format the lessons. There are different uses of materials in the context of second language teaching. So we'll continue to discuss this in our later sessions. So in brief, for learners, what's the role of materials? As discussed before, they not only provide assistance to the teachers to plan and format their lessons, but also, provide help for the learners to know what they are learning. And they could be used out of the classroom, and that's how they provide a contact for the learners, apart from a contact to the learners to get in touch with the language what they are learning, apart from the teacher, right? There are different rules which we will continue to discuss in our following sessions. So firstly, they provide as resource for presentation of the language, right? And secondly, they provide a source of formatting the lessons and dividing the lessons into various activities, and they could be used as a reference source for learners, right? What learners are learning, so they know what they have covered and what they need to cover, or right? And that's the important point, that how materials provide help to some inexperienced teachers. If the teachers are newly qualified, right? So they could be using the authentic materials. They could find it difficult to use in terms of its in terms of its lexicon, right? So that's how they could provide support to the newly qualified or less experienced teachers. When they have readily available textbook, it would be much easier for them to start their teaching practice, right? We'll see now the role of materials in brief in the context of English for specific purposes. As most of you might be aware, that ESP, English for specific purposes, uses a specialized genre, a specialized discourse or language. So, for example, if you are developing materials for engineering, you will be using specific language based on specific discourse, right? So they could help provide a source of language for the material developers. And that's how they will also give support for teaching learning activities taking place in the classroom. Its role in the context of ESP could be seen in terms of motivation, because when a teacher has, for example, readily available book, so they could be spending less time on creating materials, their own materials. Rather, they'll be sticking to the already prescribed textbooks, so that they might be a bit more motivated because they are, spending less time on creating materials. And this motivation could be seen for the learners as well. So, in summary, the role of there are various roles of the design use of published and unpublished materials. We'll continue to discuss their usefulness for language teaching, and we'll continue to discuss the differences between authentic and created materials.